The 2025 NFL season is over, and you know what that means. It's draft season, baby. Less than 75 days until the 2026 NFL draft, and we are kicking off our full coverage of the draft going forward, starting with quarterback week this week. Let's go ahead and break down the top 10 quarterbacks at the position in today's episode of Best Available. Thank you for watching today's episode. Make sure that you're subscribed on YouTube if you're not already, and follow us on socials at Best Available YT. There will be tons of draft content on here in the coming weeks. But if you're looking for even more draft coverage, consider becoming a member. I'll leave details to that in the episode description. You will get full access to my NFL Draft Big Board. So all my live updates on rankings, all of my notes, and you can find that in the link in the description. But let's go ahead and dive into these quarterbacks. Unfortunately, not a great class of QBs. That's not to say that this class won't amount to anything. It's always obviously way too early to determine where these quarterbacks are going to end up, what situations they're going to be in, any of that. But we just don't see the top-end talent that we've seen in some previous years. Feels like a lot of that's gearing up for the 2027 draft, where a lot of these QBs who could have entered into this class will be going pro. But we're going to start from 10, go down to 1, starting with Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik. Klubnik is a little bit more than just a pocket passer. He does a really good job of layering throws over second-level defenders, but he's got enough athletic ability to maneuver around the pocket, throw on the run. He's got a little elusiveness to his game, but there are definitely some concerns I have with him as a prospect. Not the biggest guy at 6 foot 210. I'm definitely concerned about his decision-making when throwing under duress. I'm not sure how comfortable he is in the middle of the field. A lot of the tape that I watched feels like he can definitely sail those throws in the middle of the field, which can lead to some dangerous passes going straight to safeties. There are just some issues I have with his game, and that's nothing against him. Definitely the situation he was in at Clemson was not ideal this past season with the talent on that roster. But that being said, I think this is a guy that is a serviceable backup in the league. I think he has some traits where if he has to play, he might be able to make a little bit of something happen. But I don't think I see starting caliber traits there. Just some limited athletic tools and size, and just some of the concerns I have on, his decision-making when throwing under pressure. But we're putting him here at number 10. Number 9 might be one of the more fascinating prospects I've watched, and I've only just watched him recently because of some of his plays at the Senior Bowl, but that's Arkansas quarterback Taylen Green, who came in at 6 foot 6 and 229 pounds at the Senior Bowl. This is a giant, lengthy quarterback. He's almost like a bigger version of Jordan Love with that, we call it silly body with the really long limbs, and I feel some of that with Green. And it makes his play style very unique. He is super athletic with that size that makes him a really dynamic runner. He makes a lot of plays out of nothing when there's pressure coming in the pocket. But his throwing mechanics are a little funky. It feels like he's throwing almost a little more overhead than to the side or 3/4. It's a funky release. I don't expect a quick release from a guy with his length and size. But he does have some solid traits. He does show good arm strength on top of that athletic ability and play speed, even some strength and, true athletic ability as a runner. There's even a clip I watched where he was able to hurdle a defender. The athleticism and physical tools are there. It's more of just the accuracy. I think part of that is his throwing motion, but some of that's his footwork. I want to see him feel more comfortable, pointing his feet and his shoulders towards a target as he throws to deliver with more accuracy. But, the traits are so enticing, and I can see why people would be really interested in him as one of these developmental backups because, there's not many 6 foot 6 guys out there. I'm just a little concerned with some of the, accuracy issues, decision making. But if he finds the right quarterback coach that, just connects with what he's trying to do, they find a blend of what he's good at along with what he needs to work on and can get bought in. The sky is obviously the limit for this guy. I've fallen in love with too many traitsy quarterbacks in my life. Nothing against Green, but I'm putting him here at 9. In that same vein, I'm putting Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor at number 8. Another guy that has similar traits that I'm really impressed with, but I'll be completely honest, I don't know if he's ever had a quarterback coach. That's probably mean to whoever's been coaching him at quarterback, but his mechanics drive me absolutely nuts. I've never seen a quarterback, especially in a pass-heavy system like Baylor's, or he's just throwing, without any kind of, semblance of footwork. He's throwing back foot, fading away. It feels like his feet are never pointed with where he's trying to throw. And it leads to a lot of accuracy issues for, how theoretically pass happy this offense is. I just did not see the accuracy and ball placement I was hoping for from Sawyer Robertson. That being said, there is some stuff I like. I do think he has a really good pocket presence when it comes to evading pressure and resetting his platform, keeping his eyes downfield to make plays, or simply taking off with his legs. Clearly, he has some real core strength because he does have a good arm, and there's no question about that. But with how often he's just kind of like, throwing back foot or, not clean platform, not setting his feet, he does have that core strength and torque to just kind of like use his torso to generate velocity, which I am very impressed with. Like that is a pretty impressive trait. There's just a lot of things I would like to see that are a little bit, better from him. But the other thing I do want to give him credit for is his mental toughness. This is a guy that, has incompletions, has interceptions. And the one thing I noticed watching the tape, as frustrating as it was for me from an accuracy standpoint, when he makes mistakes, he bounces back from them. And that is a very desirable trait in a quarterback. It's a position you just cannot crumble in mentally, or you're going to lose the whole team. And then things are just going to go downhill for the rest of the squad. And I have to give him credit. I thought he did a really, really nice job of bouncing back from the mistakes I watched on tape. Coming in at 7 is a guy that I've been following for a while and always been pretty intrigued by, honestly, at least for the last couple seasons. I think of, him throwing to Pat Bryant, but this is Luke Altmyer out of Illinois. Another of these guys that's not going to blow you away with his size at 6'2" and 205 pounds. But I felt like every time I watched him, whether it was coach's film or even on broadcast during the past couple of seasons, he's one of these guys that just seems really sharp with the football. The trait that immediately stands out, I love when he's facing these simulated pressure looks and he's not sure which guys are going to bail out into coverage. His processing once, he sees which guys are rushing, which guys are dropping, to, reset his brain basically and find the throwing window and throw with anticipation still. He has some grown-up NFL traits and throws in that regard that I really like. That combined with, a really quick release, he's got better arm strength than I was expecting. He can really lead an offense down the field, and those traits combined, yeah, it's a smaller guy, I really like, but he also has some athletic ability to him to extend plays. I don't want to use him a lot as a designed runner because, he's 205 pounds. But that being said, I need a quarterback that can, just turn negative plays into 0 yards or just, get something by extending plays with his legs. I think Altmyer's got some of that. That being said, I think his pocket presence could be a bit better. It feels like, especially when we've got a corner blitz, it seems like he tends to be completely unaware of those coming and leads to some dangerous sacks. The arm strength is good enough for his size, but it's not, elite level or anything like that. But this is a guy that just screams very serviceable backup to me. Maybe even fringe starter one day. Just all matters where he's going to land. I can't wait to see where this guy ends up. Someone I've really had a lot of fun watching over the last couple of seasons. I don't know if anyone's had a weirder college career than the guy coming in at number 6 here, and Penn State quarterback Drew Allar, a guy that over the past few college seasons has been someone that we're waiting to see that next step. But man, college football fans just love to crap all over this guy. And if you're being objective, and he has made massive strides from where he started at Penn State. I mean, this was a guy whose mechanics were a mess, was just kind of playing playground football out there. And I really thought we saw some games, maybe not this season, but the tail end of 2024, early 2025, where we saw him clean up a lot of this stuff. He has, I was there in person on the field for Yahoo Sports at the time, watching Allar in the Big Ten championship. And I'm sitting on the Oregon sideline, and I just am by staffers who were just talking about how blown away they are by Allar. And I agreed, this is a guy at 6'5", 241 that has legitimate arm strength and athletic ability. He can throw some legit NFL throws. He throws some, it's a dig across the middle of the field. He can hit with anticipation into a tight throwing window. He can throw the deep ball. He's willing to throw the checkdowns when stuff's not there when he's in the right mindset. I think the problem is, especially in the context of that Penn State season this year before he got hurt, when things aren't going well mentally, this is a guy that gets rattled. And we just talked about how much I respected Sawyer Robertson's, mental toughness. That is still one of the big question marks I've yet to see answered from Allar. And yes, this season was a mess. He got hurt, all of that. But the physical tools and arm talent, I want to see him with a quarterback-focused coach because I really think there's a starter in there that could be a really fun NFL player. It's just we've only seen flashes of it, and it's been 3 years as a starter. I don't want to discount how much progress he's made. I think it's incredible the strides he's made for a guy that felt like he had no idea what he was doing that first year. It's just there's so much frustration in watching him as well, that we have to see what the pre-draft process looks like for him and where he's going to land. Carson Beck is a little similar to Allar, but I'm putting him at number 5, ahead of Allar. But there are some mental toughness questions with him, some maturity concerns, obviously, with how his time in Miami started. A few of those issues that are more, I think, pop culture gossip than what this channel likes to cover. But I've been following him since his Georgia days, and like I saw a quarterback that could eventually be a starter one day at 6'4", 220. He's got good, arm talent. I thought even at Miami or Georgia, when he's playing at his best, you can see some real signs of, mental processing, post-snap processing, all of that. I thought his deep ball accuracy at Miami, was pretty dang good. But, there are some questions. It feels like his accuracy can get erratic when he feels rattled. I don't think he's the most mobile guy, and that's going to matter a bit more at the NFL when rushers are a lot faster and a lot scarier coming at you. You're not going to have the benefit of having guys like Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor on your team. You're going to be facing guys like that at the NFL level. There are plenty of questions about, his mental toughness, maturity, all of that. But, Mario Cristobal and that staff swear that he made significant strides and really grew up over the last year at Miami. And, clearly they made it all the way to the national championship. I thought he played, pretty damn well in that IU game until, the very last interception. I thought he was having a really good game against, one of the most disciplined, talented defenses in college football. He's just one of these guys that's going to be very polarizing, and I get why. He's more of a statue quarterback. He's kind of looks goofy. It feels like in big moments he can let you down a little bit, but I think the traits and the flashes we've seen when he's playing his best football are why I'm pairing him pretty close to Allar here at number 5. These final 4 guys all feel like in a different tier. I think obviously we know who number 1 is. He's in a tier of his own. But these last 4, I feel like could all be starters pretty quickly at the NFL level, provided things go right. And we're going to start with Garrett Nussmeier at LSU at number 4. I was absolutely perplexed until we got information at the Senior Bowl as to why he was playing so poorly in 2025. And it turns out he suffered a core injury in the preseason and just played through it all year, which honestly makes a lot of sense because I thought his 2024 tape was outstanding. And seeing that kind of drop off this last season kind of gave me the ick, to be honest. I was kind of worried for him as a prospect. Definitely on the shorter end at 6'1", 205, but like there's so many traits when you watch him that you can tell he is a coach's son. I mean, this is a guy that plays with a really quick throwing motion, good footwork and lower body mechanics to help with accuracy. He scans the field really well. He can look off defenders to set up his preferred read. He can throw into windows and read the defense and throw with anticipation. Like he does all of the stuff you want for a quarterback, when he's healthy and not under duress that you need from an NFL guy, even if he's a smaller quarterback. He's so clearly has the mental side of this game down to the point where I just genuinely feel like that will be a legitimate starting caliber skill set, depending on the situation he's in. But with that being said, the arm talent's, decent, adequate, but not good or great. It does worry me a bit when he's throwing an out route. If he's a tick slow with that arm talent, it's at risk to be jumped. He has solid athletic ability, but as far as navigating pressure in the pocket, I still think he could be a lot better in that regard. And then obviously when it comes to, facing that pressure when he's not able to escape it, I feel like he just throws it in harm's way too much. Those are all concerns with me. But those feel like fixable issues outside of the arm talent. But his ability to scan the field, if he can be more self-aware of his athletic limitations, combined with that knowledge he has for the game, that's where I think in the right system with a talented cast around him, where he understands he doesn't need to do too much, just avoid turnovers and just make positive plays. We saw that in the Super Bowl last night. That sometimes, especially with Sam Darnold, like that's all you need to do sometimes to be successful. And I think there's a path for Nussmeier where if he ends up in the right situation, I genuinely think he could be a starter one day. At number 3, we have Ty Simpson out of Alabama, another very polarizing prospect. And I'll be totally honest, man, I totally get it. That first game this season was gross. It took him way too long to start at Alabama. He has some bad games on his resume. But man, there was that stretch this season where I felt like I had completely just gotten this guy wrong. He has really good mechanics. He throws and just plays with urgency. anytime he's getting in his drop back, it's his footwork, it's his getting turned to the intended receiver. All of that feels like it's with tempo and urgency. He can get the ball out quickly, and he has some legitimate reps on his tape where he's throwing under duress and just delivering an absolute strike that I was floored for a guy that's 6'2", 208, and we'll get more official measurements on that at the combine, but he's definitely on the smaller end of quarterbacks. I think what I like about him more than anything is just how comfortable he is on the intermediate part of the field, especially the middle of the field. Like, this is a guy that can look off safeties to set up throwing windows. He hits the dagger concept really well. Like, he feels very comfortable throwing in the middle of the field. And then when things aren't going well, he has the pocket presence and honestly pretty good play speed to throw on the run, escape. He is more mobile than I think a lot of people give him credit for, and that definitely helps him extend plays, which he needed to do a bit more at Alabama than you would have liked to see, particularly because they just had no running game this year. And I think that's really frustrating. I think if we saw a more balanced offensive attack, I think we would have consistently seen that best version of Ty Simpson week in and week out. I really just want to know, especially at the combine, those highs were high, but what happened in those lows? Because there are some games where he barely looks like a starting college quarterback. But then in his brightest moments, he looks like an NFL starter. There's a lot of questions I have about him, and yeah, the size is a worry. His arm's actually solid. It's not great. There are times where he's just sailing throws when stepping up into the pocket, maybe just getting too excited about feeling that pressure coming around him that he's just sailing those balls. But a lot of questions that need answered during this pre-draft process. Sounds like he's already working at the lab with QB Country. He's locked in for this pre-draft process. So I'm extremely curious to see how this pre-draft process goes for him, because I think he could be a starter. I just have so many other questions about why some certain things went wrong. We just did a whole video about this guy at number 2 on Friday, and that's Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss. And I know, I don't even know if he's in this draft class because he's not declared yet, but all of the signs with his NCAA battle where he's trying to, appeal for another year of eligibility, things just keep going south. And, theoretically he could, I think, get an injunction, but it feels like that process has gotten so muddied at this point that I have no idea what's going to happen with it. So I finally gave up and just decided to watch his tape. And as you can see from the Friday video, if you go back and watch it, I could not believe how good this kid is. 6 foot, 200 pounds. He is smaller than these other two guys we just talked about, but his talent is off the charts. This is a guy that every quick game throw is setting the feet, showing urgency, quick release. He has a live arm. He can make some of those Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams plays off script where he's running around and can just drop it in a bucket. He feels so comfortable throwing on the move. He can hit some deep shots. He can throw with touch. He is athletic. There's so much I just loved about his game. And in the college football playoff, you really saw some of the best versions of him. This guy is 1,000,000% an NFL quarterback. I can't get enough of him as a prospect. Kind of floored he hasn't just decided to go to the NFL, because I think he could be a first-round pick. Probably not early first, but likely late first. Just cannot wait to see him in the NFL, whether it's this year, next year. It's one of the more interesting situations in the sport. So I'm still putting him on this list because, man, I just needed someone else to get excited about. We talked about this class being a little bit more disappointing. Just give me a player that I can get excited about. Don't get mad at me that he's number 2 on this list. I just had to put someone I felt very vindicated, or not vindicated. I just had to put someone I felt very, excited about on this list to make me feel something, quite honestly. And finally, at number 1, it is no surprise, but it is Fernando Mendoza. As a Hoosier, I cannot believe, I was talking with one of my friends the other day, always talked about how Lamar Jackson is my favorite player in college football ever. I think Mendoza finally took that for me because it's my alma mater, and just the season he had was absolutely incredible. This is a 6'5", 225-pound pocket passer who has some legitimate mobility, kind of runs like a tank at times. I mean, that iconic play at the end of the national championship shows you just, how physical he can be as a runner. But there's so much about his game as a passer I love. For a big body, he's got a quick release. He's got really live arm. His post-snap processing is bonkers. I mean, he can see a field side or wide side corner blitzing and throw an out route that I don't think any other quarterback in this class can hit with the anticipation and zip on the ball. He's so confident in one-on-one situations with his receivers, whether it's a back shoulder throw or a fade or just getting over the top of a defense. He can do so much and throw with so much anticipation. He's so accurate at all three levels. I mean, there are just plays he throws. The accuracy is insane, especially against pressure. He has some of the best throws I think I've seen of a quarterback since like Jared Goff. As far as throwing under duress, getting drilled, and still throwing an accurate ball. I think a lot of people forget Goff during his Cal days. It was just phenomenal throwing under pressure. It's one of the things I love about Mendoza. On top of his mental toughness, this is a guy for all of his Heisman Trophy resume. Made some pretty potentially backbreaking mistakes in games. Like I think about Oregon, I think about Ohio State, and these are games where like immediately he just responds, like no hesitation, doesn't let it bother him. Throws a pick six against Oregon. It's like whatever, we're still gonna make this a game and win it. And he just did that week after week. They went 16-0, national champions. I could say a billion other things about Mendoza, but at this point, guys, like I know everything about Mendoza. He's gonna be the number one overall pick. At this point in the stage, I think it's boring to talk about these number one guys. I'm ready for the day 2, day 3 conversations, which is why I'm excited to tell you guys that Draft Talk will be back with Justice Mosqueda. I believe we're recording tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Every week we're going to go through positions like we were doing for this video, just give our thoughts, and we'll have a little bit of a Packers spin on it just because that we cover the Packers at Acme Packing Company, but we will talk about the draft as a whole. So highly encourage you to check those episodes out. Those will be weekly along with these. We'll have individual breakdowns on a specific player I want to talk about at each position. And then on Fridays, we'll do something a bit different. Thinking mock draft this week. We'll keep mixing it up throughout the draft process. But thank you so much for watching today's episode. That is our list of 10 quarterbacks for this draft. Be sure to stay tuned on Tuesday and Wednesday for more episodes. Thank you for watching. Best available.